on today's episode of the Law of Tech podcast.
In a community, you help one another, but in terms of career, it's very much about following a path, which is often your path. So the moment you've reached a certain position, I think for some it might feel like they have then reached the goal, but then actually you have reached a position to help others. And I think the hard work actually starts from that point on, and not, I mean, the road towards that position might not have been easy, but I think taking up that responsibility is a different challenge. And I think that is also, we could do better, I think, in that sense.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Law of Tech podcast. This is an International Women's Day special, for which I'm joined by Leila El Gharbi and Nicky Leijtens. To both of you, welcome to the show. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on board. And of course, also, Marco, welcome back to the show, my co-host. Both of us will be interviewing you for this episode. We're super excited to hear a little bit more about your experiences, and the goal is to empower the voices of women in legal tech and the legal innovation space. Now, maybe to kickstart the episode, could you both tell us a little bit more about yourselves, what your background is, and where you are at right now?
So, I'm a former lawyer, and I'm not too traumatized. I love to say that because I love a lot of things about the legal industry, but there are things I'm happy that I left the normal practice to be in the legal innovation and legal tech space. And something I like to say for the past 2 years is, and I've been saying, is I feel that I'm in the right place in the right moment in the legal industry. And this is actually very powerful, very important. So just to rewind back on my life as a lawyer, as you can hear, I have a French accent. So I'm a qualified lawyer from France. I specialize in employment law, then a bit in corporate. I came to the UK, started from scratch, had to work in events, which is very useful for what I'm doing now. Worked as a receptionist, struggled a lot until I had my first job as a lawyer in the UK. Worked in private practice, in-house legal jobs for more than 5 years. And here, and then after that, I moved to the legal tech industry. I worked for 2 years for Ibrevia, contract analytics tools. And in this role, I had a very hybrid role, doing half sales and implementation, and being kind of a legal ops operations coach for a lot of lawyers out there. So I learned a lot by being in the legal tech space, especially how we can fix problems in the legal industry from a different perspective. You know, we all love to say like people, process, and tech. And I do believe that it is true. And now I'm in between opportunities, but I'm a legal tech and legal operations consultant. I'm a community builder. I'm a content creator. Don't hesitate to follow my silly TikToks on every Friday on LinkedIn. And yeah, I just love to, advocate for women. Obviously, that's the theme for today. Mental health in the legal industry, and uncover bullshit that we all see in the legal industry. So that's what I'm doing, who I am, and much more. So,
I particularly like this final part. So your TikTok are absolutely amazing, and I really support the Fight DBS battle. So thank you very much, Leila.
Nicky, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background?
Yeah, I'm Nicky, and I'm head of legal operations at Nauta Dutil, which is one of the largest Benelux law firms. And the questions you sent to me, one of them asked, when did you enter the legal tech industry? I think I entered when the word wasn't invented yet. and when I was having a quarter life crisis, ever since I was a child, I wanted to become a lawyer. And that was quite odd because no one in my immediate environment ever made it past high school. And I also didn't know a single lawyer, but somehow I had this dream. So I invented a path, followed it. And then I was 25. I was almost done with my master's. I was working at a law firm. I was at the verge of realizing that dream. And then I realized that it wasn't my dream anymore. And that instead I wanted to change the system and make it more client friendly. And then I think that is how life works. There was this opportunity of helping develop one of the first do-it-yourself platforms for legal problems in the world. And I grasped it. And then fast forward to now, I'm back in law, but with that experience and knowledge of how you can actually improve things.
Thank you very much for your introductions. Can you maybe explain to us a little bit more? We'll have a bit of a discussion on this. What it's like as a woman being in, first of all, the first field, the more traditional legal space, and now in legal tech. What are your experiences?
I thought about this question, but I'm not sure if I ever was that aware of being a woman. I mean, I know the challenges and obviously very well also because of She Breaks the Law that I co-founded. But I think one of my personal challenges was the lack of role models and also basic knowledge at the time about education and what different paths would entail, and figuring that all out on your own because no one in your family has ever done it and you cannot speak with anyone about it is quite lonely and also, well, very time consuming. And I think the biggest challenge I faced was fitting in or feeling like everyone else and not the one that has a different background than the great majority. And that at a top law firm that is the majority has a different background, I think. So for me it was more at a different level, but I can see obviously the challenges for women still. I mean, in the Netherlands, we have the M&A award, which is one of many legal awards where they celebrate deal makers. And there was a list of 42 nominees, and 41 of them were males. So I think that says a lot about the state of the industry.
But I do find it interesting that you noted that, on a personal level, you haven't really experienced that much of a difference, specifically being a woman, but you did experience a lack of role models and education. You mentioned She Breaks the Law. That is definitely an organization that, is based on the idea that you have role models and that you build upon each other's experience, expertise. Can you tell us a little bit more about She Breaks the Law?
The reason we did found She Breaks the Law is to indeed highlight all of those role models and also to broaden the perspective on that. Because if, for instance, the traditional path of a law firm partner is not working for you, there are loads of other opportunities that are all also very good careers, and we wanted to shine, to bring them and to spotlight them, to inspire others to just make choices that also fit your life circumstances, but also personality, and also that there is not one, for instance, law firm partner type, but that you can just be yourself and stay true to that, because then it also becomes easier to fit in at any level.
I know that Leila, I think, wants to also mention something about this. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, so I definitely don't want to copy Nicky's answer, but when she was talking, actually, I was not expecting her to say that, and I had like similar thoughts. So I guess I come from a very modest background, immigrant parents in France, and my parents always had like this very huge focus on education. And as Nicky, when I was younger, I really wanted to be a lawyer. And what actually saved me in the legal industry in my first years is I was actually not aware that being me would be like a problem. So I faced a bit of racism and things when I was at uni, but as you know, my parents always educated me in like, no, it's not, you are not the problem. So it's not to see the racism. So it's like, you have to fight more. So because I was educated in such a way that I was used to fight for things, I didn't know that it was not normal that as women or people of color or people from different race or religion, that's not normal to fight as hard, and that not everyone is fighting as hard for you to fit in and to get into a certain space. And so what saved me is actually people who know me knows that I have a lot of energy, but I just went into the legal industry and being very naive and being myself and just calling and trying to get jobs. And because I was so assertive and so keen, people gave me opportunities. So for me, actually, I thought, oh, if you ask for it, then you have it. I even negotiated my wage. And I guess it's because of this education, I knew that I had to negotiate my worth. But I didn't know it was not normal. And so when I saw the difference is actually when I moved into the legal tech industry, and you kind of have discussions with partners, and I never hesitate to talk about mental health and subjects that are actually normally very hard to address within the industry, whether you are a woman or man. And I started asking questions to people. And then I managed, the more I'm getting older, I'm 32 now, I'm seeing women who are becoming mother. I see that there is like a glass ceiling for certain positions, that not everyone is seen the same in whether it's the classic legal industry space or legal tech. And there are like still like struggles. And when I see initiatives like She Breaks the Law, and I'm actually building a network based on that for women in tech, still like co-founding it. So it's going out. It's going to be official like very soon. But I understood that as women, like a bit like immigrants people, you know, if you act as a community, you get to climb the ladder faster. You know, we don't have that much leadership models. We don't have this. We are not used to use our network like, as some people say, like, you know, white male people that would like go into congregations, have this thing, you know, help each other out. We're afraid to ask for help. We are afraid to empower others. And we don't have that much space for a voice. So I feel like at some moment I just, you know, they're like, okay, so if I have the ability to speak, then, you know, we're not coming together as a community. But She Breaks the Law obviously is like a great example of people coming in as a community. And so yeah, I feel like I thought in the beginning it was normal to fight. Then I figured out it was not normal. And then the more I'm growing up, the more I see women struggling, you know, mothers, and this space is not made always for women to thrive. They are still women thriving and empowering each other. But this is still like a hard space to just like, you know, to just take the power that we are owned. And when you see that there are like so many women in the legal industry, it's very weird that only a few are in leadership positions, only a few are taken seriously. So that was my take on this one. So
I think what's really, really important in this discussion is to see that any constructive change, any, let's say, positive revolution starts from the individual. It doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter any, let's say, social gaps or constructs we find ourselves when we come to the world, because it's not our choice, right? So we come into a context, in a family, we hope to be loved, and we hope to be in a place where we can educate ourselves, we can find a great job, and we can have the best in life, obviously. I'm not so naive, so I'm realistic that obviously someone is more lucky than others. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You don't need to keep, let's say, compare yourself to others. You need to be realistic and understand where you start from. And you as an individual, you do your very, very best to to connect with others, to speak the truth, and to connect with your purpose and with your community. And that's the only way where, we can overcome labels, we can overcome differences between genders, differences between sectors. I truly, truly believe in this. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. I truly believe in the power of collaboration between individuals. So thank you very much for this. I just wanted to add my 2 cents.
Referring back to what you just said, Leila, about the fact that it surprises you that there are so little women that are able to stand up, able to be a role model, even though they have the capacity to. I'm just curious to know, why do you think that is the case? Maybe both of you have a take on this, but
Yes, so I feel that naturally women, we are not naturally, it's like, some are not, but it's just, I guess, as well, like the lack of role models makes it hard to become a role model, because sometimes we like, I don't feel I fit in a lot of things I see. I'm very different than a lot of people in the legal industry, or maybe I'm not. We all think we are. The ego makes us believe that we are so different than the label, and at the end of the day, we do like similar things. So it's more about the lack of support when you start being a role model or trying to speak and being more assertive. It's because there is sometimes no one to listen. So sometimes you want to be a role model. Sometimes you want to help people. You want to empower. And it's just like there is sometimes this lack of community help in the community. I mean, like, wow, what she's doing or what they're doing is actually very important. We need to give more space to this. And sometimes even we see it, and I don't have like a proper example, but let's say when I go to a conference or to a meeting and a woman would say something, and then a man would say the exact same thing, and they would be like, oh yeah, he's right. It's like, sometimes it's about like I think sometimes as well, it's about learning to be confident, the education in women, or, in certain like communities, like mine, is about learning how to be assertive. When I want to say something, I actually say it. I don't care. And it's about like how you say it. So people would listen, because I'm like, just like, oh, do we have a problem in the legal industry? Of course we have. Is it like a toxic environment? Is it like, so yeah. So people would be like, oh yeah, actually, you're right. We need to speak more about this. But if I was just like, I think that maybe, if I'm not mistaken, we may have an issue. So, people would never listen to me. So it's more about that and helping each other. I love this phrase about sending the lift back down. So when you manage to get up, just make sure that you're sending the lift back down for other people to come in. So yeah, it's more about that. And I guess Nicky would have like even more insights, because she managed to co-found such a wonderful community with She Breaks the Law. And I'm trying to do something in the LegalTech space, but I really believe in the power of community, in the power of allies, on people just, helping each other too, because we all have this common goal, obviously. So yeah.
Well, it goes back a bit to what also Marco and also Leila shared about community.
Yeah.
In a community, you help one another. But in terms of career, it's very much about following a path, which is often your path. So the moment you've reached a certain position, I think for some it might feel like they have then reached the goal, but then actually you have reached a position to help others. And I think the hard work actually starts from that point on, and not, I mean, the road towards that position might not have been easy, but I think taking up that responsibility is a different challenge. And I think that is also, we could do better, I think, in that sense.
And how do you envision, like you mentioned that we can do better in that way? If you could think of some concrete points of, how, if we want to move forward from here, what concrete steps do you think we should take moving forward to make sure this is better?
I think, very easy to always be kind. And if someone asks you for help, try to provide it. I mean, life is demanding. Everyone has little time, but if people reach out, they've probably crossed numerous hurdles to get to the point to us. So even if it's just 50 minutes of your time, that can make a real difference. And if you see that someone is struggling with a certain topic you've experienced yourself, open up and share that you have also overcome it. I mean, we do not have to be strong all the time and seem like everything came naturally.
Which is difficult, I think, also maybe speaking from the perspective of women, or at least my personal perspective, is that if you already feel that you're not necessarily taken serious from the start, you want to make sure that you indicate that your power, how great you are, and becoming softer, you could say, in a way. But maybe that's like a very quick formulation. I don't know. I personally would feel like it would undermine my status. And I understand. I fully agree with what you say. I think that's super important, but I can also imagine that it's extremely difficult to balance these two. So showing what you're made of, showing what you're worth, while at the same time ensuring that you're kind to others and make sure that others can learn from you. See Leila nodding a bit and agreeing with.
Well, let me jump.
Go for it,
please. I want to be the icebreaker here, because otherwise we're going to always please each other. I just wanted to, now that we have shared and we have listened from Leila and Nicky, so let's say two professionals that still young professionals with a long career in front, but with a bit of experience as well. My question to you now is to understand, please.
Oh gosh.
Because I really want to know, and I think same the guests, I want to know what do you think from you, that now that you're a young professional yourself and you're moving towards your first challenges as a professional or as a woman in the legal tech, legal innovation environment. What do you see, at least in academia and in your experience so far? Can you see? Have you identified a trend or something, a shift that you can see between your peers? Can you please give us some vibes about what's around, for younger professional than us, let's say. I really want to know if there's a new trend or a switch happening, please.
I was just about to say, I think none of us are actually old. So that's the first thing. So it's difficult for me to actually answer this question from a very different perspective, I think. And also it feels very weird being in this spot, being asked the question, but thank you, Marco, for for the question. I think it's interesting because, and that's also what you both probably, Leila and Nicky, saw when, providing the question list. From the outset, so from the very start, when I entered into law school, when we would speak about gender diversity, and I'm talking specifically about the male-female balance, you would hear about the lack of diversity, the fact that there is a very big imbalance, all the standard stories, actually. So that's also why this negative approach that you may have seen in our negative approach, maybe less focused on empowerment, but more about how do we solve the problems. That approach comes from what I think I have personally learned over time. I think that things are shifting in the sense that movements like the one that Nicky established, now what Leila is doing, I think that those are extremely important. Those change the mindsets of people, male and female alike. And I think it really is also what Leila before mentioned, your ability to understand what you're worth without letting your ego necessarily get in the way and standing your ground. I think that is something that a lot of more women are, or at least feel, from what I can see, that they have the opportunity to do so. And from my personal experience, there also has been the room to do so. So I don't know if that's a change in culture, shift in the way our society, and then I'm talking about, I mean, I grew up in the Netherlands, so Western society thinks about these types of topics, but I've never felt that there wasn't no room to develop myself as a female leader, both in academia and in practice, even though there obviously still are biases and there still are things going on that you wish were different as a woman. But I think that's in general the case, not only for women, but for really many, many different people alike. So I think that would be my take on it. But I'm curious to know whether both of you, Leila and Nicky, see that there is something really different from, you know, the time that you both started out, because I wonder if it really is, if you see like this huge shift.
No, it's more that it's evolving, it's shifting. There is more and more awareness about women, more and more awareness about, you know, gender equity, more and more awareness about like a lot of subjects, even like for you know, involving everyone, you know. But it's more about that. It's like now we are allowed in the room, but we would like to be allowed to speak and to be listened. It's more, we can speak, but who's going to take us seriously? So it's more that.
Yeah.
But there is definitely a shift if you have lessons about that.
Yes, no, then I fully hear
there is
you.
progress.
Slowly but surely. But I wanted to maybe also tie into what you just said, and that's maybe a controversial thing that I'm about to say. But this whole topic of, you know, providing awards to women in law, in the legal tech space, you also see that more and more nowadays. I have difficulty with that. I think like these specific women-based awards, because I understand that we make space for women, but I also always, this is just me personally, but I'm very curious to hear like if you agree or disagree also specifically. I find it very hard to understand what the empowering factor is of having awards specifically for women. I just find that challenging in my mind for some reason, because I feel like we're kind of segregating women from from other people in society, from men, giving them an equal opportunity when we focus specifically on them and kind of zoom in on them as people. But Nicky, what are your thoughts on these types of awards in legal? I'm talking specifically about legal space, but also legal tech, which we see more and more nowadays.
Oh, I find that a really difficult question. I think I share your view of it separates, right?
That's exactly why I find it weird. Yeah.
Yeah. But in my mind, I'm still thinking any award is better than no award. But that is a lousy ambition, right? I mean, yeah. I think they still, they fulfill a purpose now because they highlight women that may not be highlighted by the traditional awards. But that is problematic.
And Leila, what are you? Or I don't know if Marco wanted to say, or Leila.
Well, no, Leila first, and then I will, close up, and so at least you can blame me. But Leila, please.
Okay, so I have something to say. So I'm obviously I'm a foreigner in the UK, but we don't care about that. But it's more I agree and disagree with what you're saying, and I'm gonna let you know why. It's just because yes, it might be a problem to have only focus group on women and giving them awards. It's like putting them out of the competition with men, as if they would not be able to win in a context with men involved. But the other thing is we have to take into account that we know there is a gap between men and women in the industry. We know that even though we're more speaking about it, there is more awareness around it. There is still this thing where, like the M&A awards that Nicky mentioned in the beginning, where in the M&A awards where you have a lot of M&A lawyers that are women, that 41 of them out of 42 are men. So by creating this focus group, it's just acknowledging this disparity, this thing, and having for people of color, for I'm a mixed race person, and I see I'm in a lot of spaces where when I say talking about the taboo subjects in the legal industry is acknowledging this type of thing. So when you allow this very specific group to shine, then it's good, but in the same time is just pushing them away from the rest. So that's why I'm a bit mixed about that. But in the same time, we still have to put the spotlight on women in a certain way. And it's just so sad that we are still in this stage where we have to create communities for women. We have to create our own awards. We have to create this own thing to make sure that we are celebrated as women. I just feel that it's unfortunately sad for us, but it's necessary for the moment. But hopefully we will evolve to an industry where everyone would be celebrated, no matter the gender, no matter how they identify. So yeah, that's why I agree and disagree. I'm for it, and I'm maybe being part of the problem by trying to create my own community to empower women in networking. But it's so yeah, I'm gonna stop there. I guess I said it all.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying.
I would love to add to that, because indeed the ones that nominate and take the decisions with the normal awards, there's still very much bias. And maybe the only way to change that is to make sure the ones that are outside that bias are highlighted.
What do you mean by that, Nicky? Can you just please elaborate last bit, because I probably missed. So I understand the bias from, let's say, from the board, but
for instance, if they only see people that are similar to them as
understood,
the ones that should be awarded, the only way to make the other people out there visible is, I think, to make sure they are visible. And if that takes another award, then let it be that, until we've reached a better starting position from and the bias is much less. That's what I try to say.
That's very much clear now. No, thank you, Nicky. And I want to follow up from what you just said, especially about awards, and then I understand we need to move from awards, because otherwise, I understand it's a tricky topic. Everyone wants to get an award. Everyone wants to be recognized. And let me say, I've changed my mind on this point. At the very beginning, I was very kind of A or Z. So I thought, well, to me, the best content wins. It doesn't matter. So a special category award is a silly thing. Then I think I've matured my position in understanding that, as Leila and Nicky said, it's better an award than no award. And especially if a community or a group of people, despite, again, labels, is not enough recognized, or there's somehow a bit of difficulty in being heard, it's good to come out as a community to take, some ground and saying, hey, we are here too. So you must listen to us, because it's not just one, it's an entire community. And so I've shifted my mind as well. I'm more into an hybrid, let's say, state about the awards thing. But I want to stress this point again. I'm repeating myself, I know, but to me it's such important. I'm a strong believer in the power of content. Let me say, I promise this is the second, but last time I'm going to say it. The way I see the word in general, and especially the legal one, it's all about kindness, content, and sharing. In my very modest working experience, I've always had female bosses. I was always very happy to have them. I know that some guys are quite resistant to that. I don't know what's the problem, but hey, to me it was an amazing experience. So I have nothing to say because you also need to think from the other side, let's say, like being a man. Some are somehow resistant, or they struggle to have a woman as a boss, but that's a completely different topic. Very much far away from the awards. So the word is back to you guys.
No, I think it's interesting to hear it from your perspective as well, Marco, because I think it's a different one from where we're speaking, from which we're speaking. So no, definitely thank you for sharing that, and we will leave the award topic for what it is, but I'm glad to hear that it wasn't so controversial what I was saying, that both of you disagreed. Now, Leila, you just mentioned, it's a good starting point, and Nicky, you agreed with that, to have, for the last time I'll mention, awards. That's where we're starting. But we are moving towards the future, and obviously we're doing this with an eye on ensuring that in the future we'll make sure that women have a position in the legal world, legal tech world, of leadership without any difficulties, and a free space to develop themselves as leaders. Maybe to wrap up the episode, because time flies when you're having fun, could you share with us your vision for the future, what you would like to see in terms of women developing leadership roles, inspiring each other, and what you would say the ideal world will look like, or ideal legal or legal tech world will look like in several years from now? Leila, you started, you kicked off the episode. I'll give you the word again for the final, and then Nicky, you can wrap up if you want.
Yeah, I thought because I started it, I would be the one wrapping it up, but I'm okay. I'm wrapping it up. Oh my God, I'm losing my English today. But yeah, I think that I always say that every time I'm invited in a conference and they say the word for the end, I always say the future is human first, people first. So in this case, we can say like women first. But in order to have like a great future for women, we need to, start doing what actually worked well for men, in a different way, obviously. I love to say, be unapologetically yourself. That's the first advice I would give to any woman, as individuals. So don't try to copy the next leader. Don't try to, no one else is better than you. No one else would be, I saw a phrase like yesterday, someone on LinkedIn posted, and I cannot remember who it was, so I'm sorry for the lack of credit, but it was saying, if the path before you is clear, then it's not your path. It might not be your path. And I agree with that in the sense that first, as women individually, it's like to build up personally what you want to do, what's your voice, what's your take. For some people, my take is a bit naive. I do speak about very difficult subjects in a creative and funny way. So I like to make TikToks about it. And some people would say, oh, it's funny what you do, Leila. You can get away with murder in a way that, oh, wow, I would never do that. Does your employer allow you to do this? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm so confident. I'm sure of who I am. So if people are not happy with my content, if people don't like who I am, then it's okay. It's their problem. I want to be genuine. I want to be myself. And in terms of community, we have to be okay with helping each other out. In the legal tech space, you need everyone. So we have to stop this thing where, oh, today I'm a potential client, you're a service provider. So, we have to continue this coaching relationship. Everyone has a voice. Everyone can speak about things and put our boundaries. So as women, if we want to help each other, it's about creating a safe space where people are able to network, the old ways. So, you have maybe 1 minute to do your speech, and then that's it. You don't gonna bore people off with your product or your services, and have this thing of, if I know what my friend is doing, if I know what the person is networking smartly, I know what Nicky does. So if one day I'm in front of an opportunity that can help Nicky, I would be able to do it. So know what individuals in your network do, be okay with helping each other out, and how do you evolve as a group? So having this, networking for the sake of networking will not make us go, anywhere further in leaderships. But if we network with, like a goal, with a purpose, then I guess this is where we're going to make a difference. This is where it's going to get to a next level. And this is what I'm trying to do with my networking group, is to be able to have a safe space to things in the very nice way, and setting boundaries, but helping each other out.
Nicky, what is your thought, and how would you like to wrap up on this question?
Well, I think I want to wrap it up a bit differently because, but it ties into it. There's always a lot of talk about how diverse teams perform better, they take better decisions. But I would like to add that they also design better products and services. And I think that is very important for the legal tech space, because if you are delivering a certain service or a product, you have all kinds of customers, but 50% of those customers are also female. So how are you going to click with their needs? So I think there's a very strong business case, especially in the legal tech space, to really get women on board, and also not get women on board, get a diverse team on board. And I think typical feminine traits such as understanding, empathy, cooperativeness, sensitivity, they are all essential when you want to design an excellent service or product. So that is my wrap up.
I think you're both very inspiring, and I want to thank you for your thoughts and sharing your honest opinions and genuine opinions and thoughts on, the role of women in legal and legal tech, and maybe in general, really. On behalf of Marco and myself, thank you so much for joining us. It was really lovely.
Thanks so much for inviting us.
Thank you
Thank you for giving us a voice.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Law of Tech podcast. If you want to make sure you keep up to date with the show and never miss out on an episode, be sure to subscribe on your podcast platform of choice and follow the Law of Tech on social media. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a rating or review, as it helps others discover the show, and don't forget to share it with your network. For now, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Law of Tech podcast.